Hello, this is Lisa Rusczyk
And Donna Murphy.
with the podcast We Are All Psychic. And today, Donna, it's just Donna and me. And how are you doing, Donna?
Doing okay. I'm just really exhausted.
Exhausted. She's been, under some heavy pressure, guys. And I still think we're all psychic. How about you?
I definitely think we're all psychic. As a matter of fact, I have a feeling that what actually happened today was truly the answer to a prayer. So I'm definitely thinking.
I think it was. So yeah, I think that it is really a good judgment on the part of the angels to have done what they asked of you, probably, because I'm
Yeah.
sure you asked
And
for
I
the
can, yeah.
higher grace. Good.
Well, and I always ask with the idea that, whatever, obviously, there's going to be things that I don't know, right? I mean, I just know what my preferences are. And just to give a quick thumbnail, I was summoned for jury duty. And the county I live in Illinois, has a very weird way of doing jury duty. They do it, you're on call technically for the whole week for 5 days, unless you're called on a trial. If you actually are called to serve on a trial, then you go by the trial schedule. But in the meantime, twice a day, you have to check in and see if you're supposed to actually go and report at the courthouse for jury duty.
And today
You've
is a
been summoned,
Tuesday. Today is a
and today's only
Tuesday,
Tuesday. Yes, and I've had to go.
and it's just about 6 o'clock, 5 after 6 in Central
Yeah,
Time.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I was like, so twice a day, you're trying to live your life, but you're like, oh, I have to call and see if they want me in the morning. Like today, I had to call to see if they wanted me for Wednesday morning. Yesterday, I had to call at 4 in the afternoon to see if they wanted me this morning. I mean, so it's
And
this
yesterday
thing.
at 11 something, you had to call to see if they wanted you that
Wanted
afternoon
me
too,
that
right?
afternoon.
Yeah.
Exactly. So you're going through this cycle twice a day of basically being on call. And then they tell you, which I think is really funny, just if you're not called, go about your normal activities. And I'm like, but you can't go about your normal
No, you
activities
can't.
when you don't know what's going to happen in the next 4 hours, and then you find out, and then you don't find out what's going to happen until the next morning. Anyway, it's been crazy. And although I have served on jury duty before, and it's not the service that bothers me, it's this particular county. And I don't know all the counties in Illinois what they do. I know Cook County is different. Cook County is where Chicago is. Um, but in any event, it's a weird system, and it's a frustrating and very tension producing system because there's an awful lot of uncertainty. Anyway, the good news today was when I checked in for the evening to see if they wanted me tomorrow morning, they're like, we don't have any more jury trials scheduled for this week. So if you haven't already been called, you're done. And I danced around the house going, thank you, thank you, thank you. So now I can just live my normal life. I'm a very happy girl this evening.
She is, and she's been texting me about it since she found out about it, and worrying about this week, and then it happening. Not worrying, just like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so hard or annoying or blah. And you have been stressed
We
out
have a
about it,
podcast.
man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we have a
Yeah,
podcast scheduled this week.
yeah,
Somebody else might want to still schedule. I mean, and you're like, what? Can you do it? I don't know.
yeah. And then and while also, so she was telling me about this all along, and so we started had kind of like we do, we got into a discussion about what we feel about being on jury and all this stuff. And I said I don't feel comfortable with it. I have been called to jury duty, but I got out of it for health reasons, and I do call it getting out of it because we this is what we talked about, listeners and watchers. This is a video on Spotify and YouTube, and I had told her, I didn't feel comfortable being a judge of people with other people. The whole thing just made me uncomfortable. I now, one thing aside is I did have agoraphobia really bad at the time.
Mm,
And all three
that would
times
be,
I
yeah.
failed.
Yeah.
So that was also on the plate, but underneath that was this fear of having to judge someone not knowing anything for sure.
Mhm.
We never knew anything for sure. That's where I went with it. And could I judge someone? What if it was a murder trial? One of them was a federal murder trial that I was called for in
Mhm.
Phoenix. But they would have had me driving from Chandler to Glendale, which was an hour and a half drive for $30. I couldn't even afford to do it at that time if they had called
Yeah.
me.
I
I
mean,
mean,
yeah,
yeah.
if you don't have an alternate way to compensate yourself for what would be your normal income for a day. I mean, and again, people don't do jury duty to make money. I mean, they do compensate you, but it's at least
that
everywhere
time it
I
was
know.
$30. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
A day.
it's an extremely modest amount, and I
Yeah.
understand you don't do it for the money, and they don't do
Oh,
it to pay you what your normal pay would be, but it can be a real hardship depending
it
on
would have
what
been for
your,
me then because the gas was
yeah,
ridiculous in a city.
travel, yeah, travel, your own gas. I wouldn't have even made probably for your gas money, which I
I
mean
wouldn't
at
have made
that
my gas
point,
money.
yeah,
No, at that time it
yeah.
cost about $30 to drive to Glendale, I think,
Mhm.
from Chandler. But we got into
So
the
yeah,
discussion
it's
about judgments, and she says you were saying, you're okay with it if you feel like you're called to it. If it's your place, if you were put in that position, then it's kind of like what you were meant to do is kind of how you placed it to me, and that you were comfortable with that. So I thought that would make a good podcast discussion because in spirituality, and as we go through learning what we can do with our psychic abilities, and I mean, for me, the root of getting, I mean, the doorway to be able to access and use the psychic skills actively, consciously, I think is knowing yourself extremely well and keeping up with that because we change.
mm,
And
how we do.
so there's a lot of judgments we have to make about ourselves before we even enter into, or if sometimes some people, like we've heard on the podcast, they can't help it. It's always on. They say the psychic is
Mm,
always on. Not for me, it wasn't, as far as I
mm,
know, as I think about it, it wasn't like that. But
mm,
I had to start judgment as far as who judging myself basically, and judging my judgment. What is happening to me? Is this real? Like what
mm.
is? And then it got even more detailed when I got into it. I do believe the spirits. I do believe all this stuff, and then I felt a sense of knowing about it. And then I had to figure out exactly what the spirits are saying better. So it's like a growth process of judgment call after judgment call after judgment call.
Mm.
And that's another way to look at judgment is a decision making thing.
I think,
And
yeah, well, I think it's part of that's how I look at it. I look at it as how we make decisions. I don't look at it, unfortunately, judgment has come to be sort of a buzz level dirty word. Oh, we
it
shouldn't be
is. You're right.
judgmental.
You're right. It
We
is
shouldn't be
used that way.
judgmental.
Yeah.
Well, we shouldn't be judgmental if we're prejudging someone or something without
Yes.
knowing anything about it or about the person. That would be bias. That's probably not a great thing. If we're looking at somebody and we go, oh, well, that person is thus and so. That person works in the corporate
Yeah.
world, or that
That
person wears too
person's
much
wearing
makeup.
blue. I hate them
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they're
or they wear too much
brave.
makeup, or I
Yeah, they
look
wear
at
that
a woman
stuff.
and
Yeah.
yeah,
That
yeah, you might look at a
skirt's too
woman, say, oh,
short.
she's yeah, her skirt's too short or her neckline's too low. If you're starting to make kind of snap judgments that are judgmental, and typically I would say on the negative, typically when we're being judgmental, it's not a positive, typically.
Right. Exactly. It's an
It's a
insult to
negative.
say, don't be
Yeah.
judgmental. Yeah. Or so you're judgmental. It's not good to
You
say.
know, and
You
but
said,
but but we exercise judgment all the time. We're
yes.
making judgment calls, if you will, all the time based on data, based on information, based on what we're picking up, whether it's actually sensory, physical. I'm
Yeah.
cold, I'm hot, whatever.
Yeah.
Or whether it's coming through a more, if you want to say, a higher channel or a spiritual
Yeah.
channel that's non physical, we're still getting a lot of input, and we have to, well, we don't have to,
We
but
kind
we
of
sort
do.
of have to do something with it, right? We have to
Yeah. I
do
would go
something with
crazy
the
if we
information.
don't. We have to make decisions
Even
as our perspective. That's how we build.
Right. Even if the decision is, I'm not going to do anything with this isn't relevant to me at the moment, that's still a decision. And to me, decision and judgment are kind of, or not kind of, they're very closely related.
I agree. I agree. I
So,
love that
yeah,
you
the
brought up
idea
that judgment. The term has been kind of because of law, because of court, because of the judgment card in the tarot and the Bible, the judgment day, it's become a big word as far as that instead of decisions. It's more
right. And
about
the
being
idea that it's
judged and
automatically
judging.
net,
Big. It's big,
yeah,
you know,
right. And negative
and negative
frequently.
usually.
Frequently, the idea is that it's a negative. And
Yeah.
again, if we're prejudging or we're judging based on very little information, and I don't even mean gut or intuitive um, sense. I mean, just like we were talking about, skirt's too
She's got a
short,
short, short
neckline's
skirt.
too low. Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever. Or he's in a suit, he's a corporate jerk. I mean, we
Yeah.
don't, I mean,
Yeah.
what I'm saying is if that's what's happening, that's very diminishing. We
It
don't know
closes
that
your world
person.
up, man. It closes your world
Yeah.
up too, you know?
Yeah.
And I
We
think
don't
it's
know that
protection.
person. Yeah.
I think it's protection. I remember in seventh grade, I was in seventh grade making fun of someone's dress in church. And my dad says to me, "You don't know if she has money enough to buy a dress. Maybe she had to get that for, someone loaned that to her and she doesn't have any clothes. You shouldn't make fun of her." And I was just like, "Oh, you're right." And it was a big lesson for me, not to make
Yeah.
fun of people. And I kind of looked at myself, why did I do that? Why was I making fun of her? And I was like, well, I'm kind of jealous because I'd have to wear a uniform. You know?
Right. I mean, there's all
I
and
got
there's
to
all
that,
different reasons. Right. And there's all there again, there's all different reasons based on our own experience and
Yeah.
our own perspective as to why we might judge, why we might unfairly judge, or why we might have a reaction that causes a judgment that is not necessarily based in something more I want to say tangible, but it isn't always tangible.
Mm-mm.
Something that is actual that's enough input, right? That's enough information, whether that comes through intuitively, again, sensorily, through factual and then mental assessment or analysis. There's all different ways to get information and process it. But
Right.
when we do, and I've done that. I mean, when I was a kid, I can
Everyone
remember,
has. Yeah. I was really glad
I
my
can
dad
remember
heard me
being
and told
me.
me
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and my parents too. They're like, I mean, I don't know if there was one thing. I think this was actually a family member, but the idea was, hey, wait a minute, that that
Give it some
person,
thought here. Yeah.
yeah,
You're
that
being judged.
person,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
And really, why are we? And I do think when I judged other people when I was younger, it was out of some insecurity about them. Even if I was putting them down in some way in my mind, it was to make
mhm,
me feel better about
yeah,
myself and better
that's
than
and that,
them, which
yeah,
I don't think
and
that
and
way at all
again,
anymore, but I did when I was younger. I felt like it was important to be better than somebody at 12 or 13 because I was
yeah,
learning what the hell life was. I didn't know anything until I started getting hormones, I swear. Yeah, I was
yeah.
oblivious
Well,
to
and
life.
we're also in a very vulnerable state, especially in
Yes,
our tweens and our teens, and we're very insecure. We're insecure about our bodies. We're insecure
very
about
insecure. Like I
a
just said, I
lot
was
of
jealous of
things.
this woman. I was making fun of her dress, but I really
Mhm.
wanted to be wearing whatever I wanted.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, there was like this feeling like I'm better than her because whatever. I didn't even have a reason. It was just there in me. I
Mhm.
wanted to be, because I wanted to
Yeah.
be noticed or feel special or important or better or unique. But I later learned in life that only comes from me seeing myself that way and judging
Mhm.
myself and figuring out who I am. So that's where like the spiritual judgment came in for me. I would say I really started looking at that very carefully how I judged myself and talked to myself about life and everything and me when I was
Mhm.
in therapy in my early 20s. We did
Mhm.
mindfulness therapy, and that is a lot of asking yourself, where did that come from? Why do you do this?
Yeah.
And what this is
Yeah.
what's going
Where
to
is
happen
that?
when you do
Yeah.
this, and and thinking ahead, and it really helped me explore why I did everything I did, and I got to the root of a lot of reasons I thought ways about myself as far as negative thinking. I was very negative on myself. I judged myself horribly when I was older. Sometimes I would lie in bed and just run through. I wouldn't be doing it on purpose. I'd just lie in bed and just feel humiliated for something I had done and shamed myself, almost like flogging, but mental flogging for
Yeah.
something like
Yeah.
that, or making fun of a kid in sixth grade for something else or something, just always
Yeah.
hangs over. I would sit there and
Yeah.
lie there in
Mistake.
bed and
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
flogging, brain
Yeah.
flogging.
Anything that was either a
Any
mistake or
criticism, judge,
that on
judge.
further reflection, it's like, gosh, I wish I hadn't done that. That just wasn't, that wasn't kind or that wasn't necessary or, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Because we've all made mistakes. I mean, we're all human
Yeah. But I
and
was
we've all
judgment
made
on me.
mistakes.
I was really the hardest
Oh
on
yeah,
me
but
than
I'm just saying,
anyone.
then you're like, well, you did that, that's
Yeah.
terrible. You did this terrible, terrible
Exactly. And
thing.
you feel that way about yourself. But for me, I just thought about it and thought about the bad things and focused on the bad.
Mm,
It's all I knew. I didn't know anything
mhm.
else to do since I was 12. because that's how I felt. Because I was feeling everybody else feeling so insecure, I think. I don't know why I felt that way, but I really don't. Chemistry, social life, family life being just weird. I remember finding out other people's families were different than mine, and I was shocked. Like I thought everybody's family was exactly the same,
Was the same. Yeah.
yeah, just when I was like 7 or something, visiting my first friend or something, her house.
Mm-hmm.
Or 6 or something. Her name was Diane. And but when it came down to judging myself spiritually, I think the really realizing what I was doing is when I thought about it really was about the judgment day in the Bible. I was thinking about that. Like, why would God judge us like that? And just why would God I was just thinking about that process
Mm-hmm.
and the stories around it. And I was like, well, we all judge ourselves, aren't like does God really judge us at the end, or if there is an end like that, or wouldn't we be judging ourselves? Because that'd be much harsher because God is love and all this stuff. He's going to be fine with whatever I do according to the Catholic God. That's what I thought God was at the time. Wasn't too sure. I was on the fence. I would say at that time when I was going through mindfulness therapy, I was maybe like very, 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 very agnostic, and I still am really. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
anything, at the root of it, but then I just didn't know, but I just really felt like I had to look at me and judge myself. And I thought if I get to the end of my life and judge myself poorly, then I'll probably go to hell. I didn't think it was in God's hands by the time I got out of mindfulness therapy. I thought it was my judgment at the end, if there was such a thing, would be mine, of myself. And because I knew no one would be harder on me than me. And that would be the person I would have to please. And then that kind of grew into believing in reincarnation. It kind of came into that naturally.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? How did
Yeah.
you
Oh,
believe
yeah. I
in
understand. Yeah.
reincarnation, or was that something that was like a concept for you when you learned?
I don't remember exactly when I came to understand to
Maybe your
whatever
mom
level I
always had taught, because your
understand it.
mother knew about other cultures and their belief systems and stuff. So maybe she,
Yeah, but reincarnation wasn't a real big topic
okay.
at
I remember
home.
learning from Joan.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly when I did. It to me that made more sense.
It
It just
did.
made more sense to me
It
than
did to
like,
me too.
okay, there's heaven, there's hell, there's if you're a Catholic, there's purgatory. Somebody can
Yeah.
figure
And
out
one
purgatory
life,
for me.
it's just hard to believe.
I just, yeah, I mean, it seemed, it was more, I resonated more with the idea of that than with the other. I don't exactly remember exactly when that
You just
happened,
feel that. Yeah.
but to me, when I became familiar with it as a concept, it was a concept that made a lot more sense to me
Yeah.
than some of the alternatives.
What do you think
So
happens if there is such a judgment at the end of some time of our soul's evolution or something like that? What do you think a judgment might be? Do you think it would be a higher power that judges us, or do you think it might be ourselves? Or do you have to decide on
I
that?
not only believe in reincarnation, I also kind of, once again, this to the best of my understanding, I also believe that karma is operant as an element of reincarnation, which means that it isn't a higher power necessarily.
Karma. Yeah.
It is a force
Force. I was just thinking force. Yeah, it's like a force.
or like gravity. I mean, it just
Cause and effect.
you
Yeah.
can believe it, you cannot believe it. It holds you to the earth. So I mean, you cannot believe it. But my other
It's
thing
cause
is
and
then
effect.
jump.
Everything,
I wouldn't jump off the
everything has
tent.
an
Right.
effect.
I wouldn't testify jumping off a 10-story building.
No,
You know what
that's a
I
good
mean? That's
idea.
just
No, we do not.
whether I
Listeners, do
believe.
not do that.
Yeah, please do not do that. But I'm just saying, whether or not you accept the concept of gravity, gravity is something that's
It's
operating in our
happening.
physical world.
Yeah.
So for me, I look at it, and that to me is actually, I think, because God for most people, different definitions of God, but the idea of a personified God like a
Like
person
a consciousness. Yeah.
doesn't resonate as much with me. But the idea that a force that is essentially about balance rather than punishment and reward, it kind of actually transcends
Yeah, you're right.
punishment and reward, even though we as humans have a hard time stepping out of
You're
that,
right. Yeah.
is that that's probably the most impartial judgment, and it balances everything from this lifetime, which means that I guess the way I would look at it is it would neither be too lenient nor would it be too harsh, because it's going to be a sum total
Right.
of what I did, right?
Yes.
Or
Yes.
didn't do, or
Yes.
whatever, right? All the elements, right? So at that point, then, and then because I believe in reincarnation, the idea then is things that were out of balance or mistakes or, whatever you want to say, that would be the learning opportunity for, guess what, another lifetime.
Yep. 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 Yep.
So this idea that there's an
That's why I liked it
evolutionary,
too. You can
yeah,
fix it.
there's an evolutionary process going on.
Yeah.
And I've had people tell me, well, do you think that if you were really, really bad, you'd come back as like a cockroach or a rat or whatever? I mean,
You might be happier that way. Short life.
honestly, do I know? No, I don't. I've been given to understand that once you're human, you basically stay human.
Right. Right.
You wouldn't
Incarnate as a
downgrade into
Pleiadian or downgrade into a cat or,
or downgrade it. Well,
a rock
downgrading.
or a
I'll tell
tree.
you, I know how you treat your cats, and I know how I treat my cats, and I know
Yeah.
how a lot of people treat the pets that they love, cats,
Yeah.
dogs, whatever. And it's like, that's a really good life.
It
Would
is.
not be a
Yeah.
punishment. That would not be a
The
punishment.
same thing with plants, because whenever I felt the energy of plants, like a big old tree, a big giant tree that's been there 80 years, 80,000 years or whatever,
Yeah.
it feels good, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't it? It just feels like if you're hugging trees, feels like, energizing. Like I wouldn't mind that's like your blessing. If you lived a good life, you come back as a tree.
It might not be right. That's what I mean. It might be an actual reward to
Yeah.
come back as something else. But I have been to the best of my understanding, and I'm not saying I'm an authority figure on or an authority on
Oh,
this
me
at
either.
all. But my understanding is that once you're human, you essentially stay human.
Yeah, that's kind of what I feel too. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's almost like the cats stay cats and the dogs stay dogs. There may be some crossovers here and there, Who
Yeah.
knows? I can't wait to find it all out though someday. That's one thing I think happens. I think when we die, it's one thing I really hope for anyway. If that we get to know everything.
I think we're
We
given
wanted to know.
I think we're given a much greater depth and breadth of understanding than we
I think it's
have
already
while
there. It just
we're.
comes back, is what it by sense.
Mhm.
Like we already
Yeah,
like when
remember.
we wake up from dying, it feels to me like we're like, oh, I got it. Like a dream. When you wake up from a dream,
Yeah.
like, oh, that
It's
wasn't
like,
real.
or I remember now.
Yes,
I
I
think we
remember everybody
remember
now. I
things.
remember I'm
Yeah.
alive, and
Yeah.
I'm not in that hotel. I'm in my bedroom.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I'm not in the mall, thank God. I'm on the
Mhm.
couch. So I guess like listeners and watchers, what we're getting at with this podcast is just for me anyway, from my point is just to like ask you to think about when you're judging yourself, especially for my advice on this subject.
Mhm.
I would say if you're judging yourself, really look to the root cause. And if you find it, it's going to probably be an insecurity or somewhere you've been hurt before when you find the root. And if you can find the root, just finding it helps a lot. You can see it's
Mhm.
not as big of a deal as it felt like, maybe sometimes. Or if it is a
Yeah.
huge deal, you can maybe find some closure around it with imagination work and changing how you think about it and feel about it in
Mhm.
the imagination work. And don't
Yeah.
ever judge yourself harshly because that's never going to help you unless you're trying to
Well,
change a pattern. But don't judge like we were talking about in the beginning of the podcast. The judge. If you're going to judge yourself, fix it, you know?
and even if it is something fairly serious or consequential, the idea is, along with the idea of judgment, is the idea of atonement,
Yes,
grace.
fix it. Yeah.
There are other
Thanks.
elements here. I mean, if you stop at the judgment, well, there you are. Then you're stuck.
Now
Right?
what? Yeah. You're
If
a
you
Libra.
like Lisa, yeah, like Lisa was saying, but if you go from that point and go, okay, is there a way I can now that I know this, now that I'm aware of it, now that I understand it better, is there a way I can do better? Is there a way that I can actually atone if it was a person or whatever that I've wronged or harmed or hurt? Is there some way without causing more hurt or harm that I can atone for that without an expectation of anything, including forgiveness from that person? But just being able to say, look, I accept that I did something hurtful, and for that I am sorry. And
Yes.
that would be enough, because you don't know where they are. You don't know if they can forgive you. You don't know, maybe they already did forgive you and you're the one who hasn't forgiven yourself. There's a million, different scenarios. The important thing is that you're able to take the to accept the ownership of it, and then to find a way, if nothing else, to forgive yourself, to give yourself some grace.
Yes. Yes. I love that. That's a great lineup for how to do it.
Mhm.
Beautiful advice. And with this little short podcast, listeners and
Mhm.
watchers, we don't want to keep you here, judging our faces all night or listening to our voices and judging our voices harshly. So we'll whisper for the rest of this podcast. You can't hear our voice. Well, I just want to say lastly, I would love to thank Everclear. Do you have anything else you want to add before I thank Everclear?
No, I'm good.
We
We've
played
summed it
around with
all up,
this
or at
one
least for
some. We
tonight.
started a
Yeah.
little something, something.
Yeah, we probably haven't got it all sewn up,
Never
but
know. It's
close.
really funny when I mix them. They're nothing like I remember ever, ever.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest
Yeah.
thing. But I'd love to thank Everclear, our sponsor. Everclear is an application app and a website. Everclear, Everclear. Everclear was Southern. Everclear.
.com.
Everclear.com. Um, and it's where you can find advice from psychics and empaths to create the life you deserve. So we help you find that advice and guide you there, and we hope you get it, whatever it is that you're trying to find clarity on. And I'm an
Mhm.
advisor there at my. That's why I say we. We're not just people
Yeah.
who help the people who help you at Everclear. We are advisors also.
Yes, we are.
And I am Lisa Russick on Everclear.
And you can find me on Everclear as Donna Murphy. And we hope that you will tune into our podcasts. We always have wonderful guests. Occasionally, Lisa and I will do one kind of off the cuff, where it's just the two of us. We do our lives I'll say most
Live.
Sundays at 6 p.m. Central Time, US. I said it right this time.
Indeed.
And we do free mini readings, and we also do pick a card. So between the two of us, we each pull 2 cards. You can get guidance or advice or an outlook for the upcoming week from that Sunday, looking forward.
That's my favorite.
And yeah, mine too. And, and if you like us, whatever platform you watch us on, there's always a way to say, I like this and I want more of it. You can share us with other people. You can share the podcast with other people. We don't have to be your best kept secret. You can like us, you can subscribe, you can leave comments, you can let us know if there's topics or other things of interest for you. We love your feedback. We love you. And we're glad that you join us. And we want you to keep right on joining us, because you're really the reason that we're here.
Ooh, rose quartz art. We got a rose quartz art for today. Listeners and watchers, which this one's
pretty.
for you.
Yeah.
Ooh, I can see you in the reflection of the heart. Isn't that neat?
Yes. There I am. Oh,
You're so
I see
pretty.
myself.
We're weird.
Me too.
I thought there was one last thing I wanted to add, and I can't remember. Let me give me a minute.
Okay.
Oh, the lives are on YouTube channel, Lisa Rusczyk and Donna Murphy. We're All Psychic podcast. And
yes,
it's a 6
the
Central.
lives are, yeah.
And I always, every time we do, every single Sunday, I will post on YouTube and Instagram on that channel. And on Instagram, my handle is Reader Lisa. I'll add it on here. And I put out a video letting you know if we're gonna, or Donna might if I'm too sick, but she had to do that one time. But I think I was asleep and you couldn't get in touch with me, and I slept through it that time. I think it was a habit. But we post
we
on
do the
YouTube,
best we can.
We definitely post on YouTube whether or not we're doing it that day on Sunday.
Yeah,
we do
so
it
you'll know
every Sunday. And we have lots of lives that you can watch on the YouTube channel to see what they're like and see if you want to do it. And you can watch the one we just did and see if the week follows up with your pick a card. You can just fast forward up to the pick a card and
you can always do the pick a card even if you don't watch live on Sunday, and take a look and then see how that jives with how your week went.
You know what I might do? I might start putting a timestamp in where we start the pick a card. I
That's
might
a good
do that,
idea.
guys.
Yeah. Well, sometimes if people are watching the
The
they're not
rerun, yeah.
watching live, the rerun, then yeah, they might want to jump just to that and see
Yeah,
what
that's
the
what I was
prediction.
thinking. That's what I
Yeah,
would
that's
do. Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Okay, listeners and watchers. I think we've had it all, hashed it all, given all, talked it all, and we want to keep talking, but we're not. Love you. Peace out.
Love you. See you very soon. Bye for now.